per se, but give some tips on how to speed level. I'm not going to showcase like my actual route and stuff like that, but I've been watching a few of the content creators that have been posting about leveling in New World, and I have to disagree with a few of them, so I feel like I would give my take on it and just kind of give what I think would be the best solutions for it. Now we're going to start off, we're going to go through tips on what to level at the beginning, if you should do faction quests, if you should do side quests, where you should level, where you should start leveling, how you should start your level route, what you should work towards as far as other gathering supplies and stuff like that. So let's just get right into it and knock it out with the fact that I will have to agree with Damone Kim here, as I haven't done much testing, but I have leveled 3 times, and it does seem like Monarchs Bluff is the fastest leveling route for main story quest. Now, my recommendation is, now he says that if you spawn in Windsward, you should run to Monarchs. I do have my concerns with that, because if you do spawn in Windsward and you run to Monarchs, by the time you get to Monarchs, the beach is going to be flooded with people, and there is 2 quests on that beach that really do matter overall, and those 2 quests are for the flint and the wood, so you should try to collect flint whenever you see it, and the wood from the bushes. And then additionally, you're also going to need to skin a pig, I think it is. There's like a pig there you gotta skin. And so those mobs, believe it or not, even though they're on dynamic respawn, when fresh servers first launch, it's going to be incredibly hard to get those supplies. At least in my opinion. I think they're going to be, people are going to be everywhere. So if you're, I think the main thing you should look for when on the beach is kind of flint and the bushes right away. Just get 5 or 6 wood, and then you don't really need that much. You only need 1 of each. I think you need like a couple pieces of wood, or maybe it's 3 pieces of wood and like 1 piece of flint. But you will need the flint later on for a campfire. And if you can't find flint over there or the wood, it's a give or take, right? So I would get a couple if you can, and whenever you see it, I would grab it. Anyway, so let's start off. That's the beginning level. If you're in Monarchs or Windsward, Damone Kim said to go from Windsward to Monarch. I'll have to agree with him there. I haven't done it personally. I haven't seen how that plays out. It does seem like Monarchs has the better leveling route, just kind of like a faster level. Now, I would skip all side quests until you get to Everfall. The reason being is that side quests are going to be mob tag heavy, and they're also going to be RNG drop heavy as far as getting mobs and kind of getting a looted item that you're going to need from them. And I just don't think it's worth to do the side quest at the beginning, because everybody, like, a lot of people have OCD with it, so a lot of people are going to be doing the side quest right away, and they're going to think that they need it for the main story, because that's how New World used to play, is you used to have the side quests and all this stuff. So I would skip side quests. Same with town boards. Like, town boards, for example, are now no longer useful, so you're only going to do the main story quest. I would do the main story quest all the way up to level 20, or as soon as you get to Windsward. Then you can start to pick up some side quests, and I would only do them if they're in the way, or if they're up, let's say you have a main story quest that you haven't out leveled, and you really do need the levels in order to just pick up the quest, then you might want to do the side quest. I've out leveled all of it so far, so I think even my main story quest is 20 right now, and I'm almost level 21. So even by just doing side quests, and I have done a few faction quests here, I am basically out leveling it. But there will become a point where around like 25, 26, 27, where you will have to start doing side quests. Otherwise, the main story quest will out-level you. Regardless, that's the start. There's also a tip at the beginning when you're doing your specs. Right when you spawn in, after doing this tutorial or skipping the tutorial. Now, when you load in, it'll put you in the little tutorial spot, and you can hit escape, and you can hit the menu button. And there will be a button here that says, I think it's like right here, it says skip tutorial. You want to click that. You don't really need the unless you want the shield, because the shield can be kind of hard to obtain. I think there might be one at like level 4 that you can get. I would skip the tutorial, and that way it puts you in. You'll immediately spawn in at level 2. When you spawn in at level 2, dump your points into strength, because you'll be doing a lot more damage with your sword. So immediately dump as many points as you can, because you'll see, like, I have level 4 sword and level 2 blunderbuss before I even was able to get my main weapons. Also, if you're a returning player, really have your weapon set out what you're going to do, because it's going to be really hard to go back and level a weapon that you already like, and then you're going to have to redo it, and it's going to slow down your... Again, this is a tutorial for speed leveling, so if you're just like a new player, like, don't worry about your weapon as much, although you should kind of have an idea of what you like. because leveling all the weapons at once is not going to go well for you. You're going to struggle pretty hard once you get to the later levels. So you kind of want to have your leveling stuff in mind. Now, there are a few side quests that will give you certain weapons. So, for example, for me, I play a mage, particularly fire and ice, and there is a side quest that does give you an ice gauntlet called the Lost Chill, and that will happen around to level 7, I believe. So you do want to do that quest. It will be right next to your main quest. Maybe I'll have like a little pinned comment down below on what quest it is. I'll kind of look it up, but you can look up this weapon as well on the New World database, and you'll find that exact quest that will give you that. It's right next to the main story quest. There's it's 2 people on the side of a cliff. One's the main story, one is for the Lost Chill, and the main story quest line will actually give you a fire staff. I don't know if this is the fire staff that gives you. I can't remember. It might be. So you'll kind of get your mage gear right there at level 7. So don't worry if you're a mage, you won't get... mage is like the last... It's the last class to get... It's not really that class. Fire staff and ice is like the last weapons you will get, basically. So all the other stuff you get really, really early on. The fire staff and ice gauntlet is something you'll get around level 7. So don't worry about that if you're playing fire ice. You won't be able to level your weapons till you're around level 7, and then you'll do that side quest right there for the Lost Chill, and the main story quest will give you the fire staff. Another additional tip that I have to disagree with Damon Kim on is that he said that you should basically do the side quests. Now, again, like I've said, I don't think you should do the side quests until you hit Everfall. So I would skip all side quests here in Monarchs or Windsward, and then once you get to Everfall, do your side quest. And the first one of those that you'll want to do is the music one. And the reason why you want to do the music one is for 2 reasons. One, it's good XP, it's right there, it's really easy to do. And 2, if you are in a group, for example, we'll go through here the buffs. If you are going with a group, I would suggest having at least 1 music player. Now, I don't know if it's worth to grind music, the amount of time that it will take you to grind music at the beginning, if it's worth to do. When you're level 30 and 40 and you have that gap over other players, it's probably the time to do music a little bit. You could take 10 minutes out of the time to hit level 5 and get this song for territory bonus. I would not go for level 25 unless you are with a group specifically. If you're with a group, I would have 1 musician in your group go for this. Now, it might take an hour. I don't know. It might take a while for them to get this. So you probably want them to do it at a time that you already have a gap over the rest of the players, or you have significant time at night, yada, yada, yada. Because this is going to take, probably about an hour. And taking an hour out of your leveling at the beginning is a lot. It's like, there's a reason why people push so hard at the beginning, because that beginning gap that you can set from other players and being able to have mobs and not be kind of like a lot of times you're going to be waiting for a mob to spawn unless you're ahead of the curve. If you're ahead of the curve, you won't be waiting. There won't be like a little leveler here trying to kill their mobs around you. You won't, all these mobs will be spawned up, so you won't have to go through the trouble of waiting for them to respawn. Again, this is like so much time that you could be saving. Now, another thing that Damon Kim said as well is he said that you should do all of your faction quests for the faction initiate. Now, when you join a faction, or when you want to go join a faction, you have to do initiate quests. And obviously there's three factions, 3 quests. The problem with doing all 3 of them is that they give you completely different gear. Marauders will give you an axe and a con helmet, so it's only good for melee. Syndicate will give you an actually kind of I believe it gives you this. It gives you a decent helmet for mage. It's a dex helmet, but it has int on there, and it has luck, I think. Or, well, I know it has luck, but I think this comes from the Syndicate quest. And it will give you a musket. So if you're a musket player, you definitely want to go for Syndicate. You don't have to join the faction. You just have to do the quests that will give you the gear. As you see, now it tells me to join, and then it gives you like a little package once you join. And you can do this at level 17. So as soon as you get to Everfall, this should be something that you might want to focus on. You should be about level 17 when you get to Everfall. Also, I'll go over the other ones. So Marauders gives the axe and the helmet, the con helm. The Syndicate gives that helmet that I just showed you and a musket. Again, I'm not going to use the musket, but the helmet was nice. And then the Covenant gives you a life staff, and it gives you this helmet here, which is another good one for, it's not bad for mage. It's got focus, doesn't really help us that much, but it's not horrible. It's a light helmet, so it's nice for that. But this is definitely for a healer in general. So I know Damone said to do all 3 of these. I wouldn't, because you can only get one package. You can only get one care package. You can't get all of them once you join one, unless you join a faction and then immediately quit and swap to the other faction. Then you might be able to get 2 care packages. I don't know. You could probably do something like that. I mean, maybe that's, you know, that's like a little trick that you could do. In fact, I might even test that now just to see what happens if I join a faction, because it lets you quit once. It lets you change your faction one time immediately. Then it's 60-day cooldown. So it might be worth doing that. I don't know. Probably not. But if you don't have your faction set, it is worth to do one of them, like one of these quests, depending on what class or what weapons you want to use. I would definitely do one of them, especially for either like the helmet or whatever. They're not bad to do. But if you already have your faction decided and you don't really need any of this gear, then don't do these. So for me, I might do Syndicate, I might not. This helmet is pretty decent, and I like that it has luck on there, especially at the beginning. So I might rush Syndicate. I might not join that faction, but I might rush the Syndicate quest. I'm not going to do any of the other quest lines until I know what faction I want to join. I also think that the XP from these aren't that good, and it sends you to elite zones. Like here, for example, I think this is one of them that I'm doing here. Yeah, this is the Covenant quest line. This is kind of like an elite zone. I mean, especially if you're level 17. That's another thing I don't understand is, like, these are... Like, this quest line is level 21, but then it goes to level 17 once you complete it. So it's like... You're gonna struggle here at 17. So you only really want to do one of them, if any at all. Right, or, well, you have to if you want to join a faction. And you should join a faction because you can enable PvP. That's another tip we'll go into. So, Damone Kim says to do all of them. I would highly recommend against that. I would only do the one that you want to join. And if you need gear like the musket, which is really nice, or the axe, then I would do another one. So I would only do 2 in total, if anything. Leads me to my next point. Once you join a faction, which I haven't done yet, so I can't really show an example of, but once you join a faction... If you're in town, like let's say for this quest, for example, if I want to turn in this quest, before I turn the quest in, you want to enable PvP. And you do that by pressing U on your keyboard. You enable the PvP, you turn in the quest, you turn off PvP. It will actually give you more XP when you have PvP enabled, even if you're in town. You could have it enabled in general if you want. I don't know if I'd recommend that unless you're way ahead of the curve and you're really, really geared. And you're like level 25 and people are level 20, you know, then you're probably going to be doing just fine. As far as the leveling experience goes, I would turn PvP on to turn in a quest. At least as far as like, close ones. You know, if there was like a quest turn in right here, you could come to this fast travel point and turn it on and then go turn it in. I don't know if it's exactly worth to come back, but if you're already there, you might as well turn it on and then turn in the quest and then come back and turn it off. So that's another big tip to do at the start, especially at the start, because it's going to give you some good amount of XP. Also, if I haven't iterated this, when you first spawn in, you want to dump all of your points into strength, because you're going to spawn with a sword, and so you want to dump all your points into strength. You're going to be able to respec for free up to level 20, so keep respecking for whatever weapon you're using, and do not put any points in con. I haven't put a single point in constitution, and I have 55, because the gear that you get is going to be mostly con gear. That's all it's going to give you is constitution stuff. The amulet you get from some of these quests, like look at this, 12 con, like all this stuff is constitution. A lot of it's going to have con on it. So don't put any points in con unless you're like going for like a full tank build or something. I mean, I don't know, but I wouldn't. I would put it in strength, even if you're short sword and shield, because you're gonna have so much con already. You really only need 50, and you're gonna get that by the time you need it anyways. So I wouldn't do it. I would dump all your points into whatever you're using. So for me, I'm doing int. But I didn't respec to like level 7 when I finally got these 2 weapons. Then I respected all into int. Otherwise, I kept it in strength. And I think once I got a rapier, I dumped it into dexterity because I was doing like a rapier build at the beginning. That's super strong as well. That should cover the beginning portion, with level 1 to 17. Also, if you're in between, like earlier, I was like up here at this little campsite, right? And I had to go to this fast travel point. I could run up to this point, or I could just run down. Well, what you could do is you could just tag some mobs, and then get yourself killed. And this will allow you to respawn at one of these fast travel points. So use the death TPs as much as you can. Those are going to save you actual minutes. Like, some of this stuff is just going to save you some seconds. That will save you actual minutes. It's just like tagging a mob, letting it kill you, and then spawning at one of these locations, and then fast traveling to it. That's going to save you so much time. Make sure you have your inset. I probably should have moved mine to here. This is like on a 20-minute cooldown now, so it's super fast to recall to the inn. Also, when you're leveling at the beginning, this is super useful, but when you're running, like if I'm holding my W key now and I want to go change my spec, it stops my character in its tracks, right? However, if you hit your AutoRun key and then open up the menu, you'll see I'm still running in the background, and I can respec, I can do whatever, and then I can set my stuff and be ready to go back into the menu here. So that way I can keep having my character run to where I need to. Or even if I wanted to, let's say, change my, if I just unlocked a thing for my weapon, then I can go into here. You see my character still running in the background, and I could set what I need to do. So a lot of this stuff, I've also practiced on here to just kind of have, like I know exactly what I'm going to do for my ice gauntlet. I know exactly what I'm going to do for my fire stuff at the beginning. And this is kind of stuff that you probably want to get down, because you standing still and kind of like, oh, well, what spec here? Do I take this? Like, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time, especially at the beginning. I'm telling you, that precious gap that you can put over people is so massive in these MMOs because of mob tags and all that stuff, that you really, these precious seconds are going to matter way more so than anybody thinks. So I think that about covers it as far as overall, especially the level 1 to 17 area, which really does matter more than anything. Once you hit level 20, the game kind of fleshes out as far as being able to do side quests. When you hit level 30, if you need to do some side quests or you need XP, there's some mobs here in Cutlass that you can farm. There's a lot here. You can also do corruption portals, but I heard corruption portals aren't really good unless you have like 10 people or so, so I wouldn't do that. But I think I about covered everything as far as the speed leveling process should go at the beginning. The later runs, I haven't really got that high in level. I've heard that there is some issues around level 30 and level 40-ish, that you might not have enough XP for the main story quests. Again, just do side quests, mob tags, do corruption portals. There's tons of other stuff. Avoid the town boards. Those aren't worth it anymore. I wouldn't do any town boards. But that should cover everything. If you guys have anything else or anything else that you did think I didn't cover, I think a lot of these tips weren't covered in any of the other content creator videos that I showed off, or not showed off, but watched rather. And that's because I did the leveling process to 23 times. I leveled this character 3 times. I deleted it, re-leveled it, deleted it, re-leveled it, just to see what would the fastest way be. And side quests by far took me the longest. Doing only the main story quests was super, super fast. Unfortunately, I didn't get a Windsword spawn. I probably should have practiced it and just ran over, but it does seem like Monarchs is the better play. Alright, y'all, if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. I should have more New World stuff coming out in the next coming days for Fresh Server, other than this leveling guide. I do appreciate it. To the next one. Deuces.